Story 1. When you take a slice and all the toppings slop off, you are left with only bread and sauce. Story 2. There are excessive amounts of grease and overcooked crust or toppings. I understand how some places make it and what to generally expect, but it feels better to be more particular about this sort of thing. Story 3. The dough was not fully cooked and remained gooey in some parts. Story 4. I once ordered a pizza at a restaurant in Ensenada, Mexico, that had whole olives with their pits intact. Olives with pits ruin a pizza. Story 5. Some tomato sauces have a cinnamon-like, slightly sweet flavor. Story 6. Seattle, I am calling you out. It is too expensive for a basic large pizza. The number of places where a large cheese pizza or a pizza with 1 to 2 toppings costs $30 is insane. Story 7. When I turned 14, I had my birthday party at a place called Austin's Park and Pizza. It was a Chuck E. Cheese-style kid entertainment center, and they served pizza. I can confidently say there is no way to ruin pizza more than they did, short of burning it. The dough tasted only of flour and yeast. It was undercooked, floppy, and had a thin layer of grease on the bottom that ended up on the buttons and surfaces of the games. The cheese was bulk stringy mozzarella, nothing special. The worst part was the sauce, which was overwhelmingly salty and lacked other spices. The flavor was just tomato and salt. I finished one slice and did not want any more, which was highly unusual for me at 14 because I could usually eat an entire medium pizza by myself. I went there to play arcade games and eat a lot of pizza, and the bad pizza ruined much of my enjoyment. In 2021, they rebranded to Austin's Park, and I thought they had no claim to be in the pizza business. Screw you, Austin's Park. Story 8. When a $10 pizza special comes out to $34.50 after adding 2 toppings. Story 9. Because my brother's girlfriend doesn't like cheese, we ordered one with less cheese and extra sauce. It was absolutely ruined. Story 10. Too much grease. I know that's blasphemy. I am okay with a greasy pizza, but I don't want it dripping oil. Story 11. A bar near me serves a Reuben pizza, so I chose sauerkraut because I think it ruins a pizza. Story 12. The price. When I was in high school, I could get a 20-inch pizza from a local New York pizzeria for $15. Now they want to sell a 16-inch pizza for $25 to $30. Story 13. 1. The entire layer of cheese and toppings sliding off a slice during the first bite. 2. Bad crust, meaning undercooked or overcooked. 3. Too many toppings can be a problem, even though I have had many good the works pizzas at different places. Story 14. Too many toppings. Too much cheese. Not crisp enough. Okay, Portnoy. Story 15. I hear people complain and debate whether pineapple belongs on pizza. You are right either way. The best pizza toppings are the ones you like. Story 16. Nothing ruins pizza. This form is sacred. It is forbidden to suggest that pizza spoils, even if it has been stored in a broken refrigerator for 10 years. Repent, brother. You still have time. Give all your love to the sacred mass. Story 17. Toppings such as peppers are added after the pizza is fully cooked. Come on, it is not hard. Story 18. I had bad cheese only once with a stuffed crust pizza. The cheese on the main part was great, but the cheese in the stuffed crust was like poor quality soft cheese or cottage cheese. I hated it and have never returned to that place. Story 19. These days it is almost impossible to get your pizza delivered hot. Back in the day, dedicated delivery drivers got it to you quickly. It went straight from the oven into a heat-protected bag or case and then to you. Now pizzas are delivered by regular drivers in their cars, often with 3 stops along the way. Story 20. There is too much meat. There is a balance to be found. I do not need 6 different types of meat on my pizza without vegetables to balance them. Story 21. Someone is cutting a hole in it and sticking his penis in it. Story 22. Extreme floppiness that prevents you from picking it up to eat, requiring the use of cutlery. Cheese that has not melted properly. Story 23. Green peppers should be nuked from orbit. It's the only way to make sure. Story 24. A warm, pineapple-like fruit doesn't belong there for me. Story 25. When I'm craving it and someone asks for a slice, I laugh. Story 26. They did not cut it before delivery. It only happened once, but that was enough to make it memorable. Story 27. Not much. I am not sure I have ever had bad pizza. Some pizza is better than others, but even when pizza is considered bad, it is still pretty good. Story 28. I was vomiting from both ends and in bed for over 24 hours. That was my Saturday. Story 29. For me, black olives are too strong. Even if I remove them, the whole pizza still tastes like one big olive. They are just not for me. Story 30. I think about how one day I will die, and everyone who knows me will eventually die as well. No one will be left to remember that I ever existed. Story 31. When it is undercooked, the entire bottom of the pizza should be crispy, and the cheese on top should have dark brown spots. I hate this chewy, pale, dough-colored slop. Story 32. The cornflour dominoes adds to the bottom of the pizza. Others do it too, and I hate it. Story 33. Delivery has to be fresh out of the oven, not steamed in a crust-killing box. Story 34. When the base is too dense and doughy, I prefer it thin and crispy. Story 35. The crust was so thick that I might as well have stayed home and eaten French bread. Story 36. I have a local place that makes a great thin crust with nicely flavored sauce, but they add way too many toppings. The toppings and crust do not fully cook. The center is usually wet and the cheese is not completely melted. They make an excellent cheese pizza and a good single-topping pizza if you ask them to use half as much topping as usual. Story 37. I do not like my pizza to be thick and bread-like. I also do not like black olives at all. Story 38. When I burn my tongue on the first slice and cannot enjoy the rest. Story 39. Raw mushrooms and large bell peppers end up falling off anyway. Story 40. Olives, pineapple, chilies, or too much sauce. Story 41. Putting weird toppings on it is fine. Pizza requires red sauce, pepperoni, and cheese. You can build on that a little as long as the basic formula remains, but do not get too crazy. Anything that does not include red sauce and cheese at a bare minimum is not pizza. It is a flatbread. Story 42. 1. Poorly mixed or uncooked dough, such as biscuit dough that is too thick. 2. Too much garlic powder in the sauce. 3. Soggy slices. Story 43. If the texture goes bad when it is cold, you get that grittiness in the cheese. Story 44. I usually end up with gluten-free crust because I have a family member with celiac disease. I can eat it, but that does not make it good. Story 45. The tomato sauce has to be there, but it's always so unpalatable. Story 46. Red sauce gives me heartburn. Garlic parmesan for life. Story 47. I don't know, but for whatever reason all the independent pizza places near me are terrible. They have a crust like a cracker and use almost no sauce. This is a shame because when I lived in Florida, almost every pizza place was excellent. Story 48. Thick crust. I am a native New Yorker raised on thin crust, and when I visited Chicago and tried their pizza, I was uncomfortably bloated for days. Tasted okay, but it was not worth the aftermath. Story 49. Rat's Pool is not pizza. There is a reason pizza is known worldwide for having crust, sauce, and cheese in roughly equal parts. Only one place seems to treat the sauce as the main event and uses the other components mainly to funnel more sauce into your mouth. Story 50. When they list olives as a topping but you receive green olives instead of black olives. Story 51. An overloaded pie with cheap cheese. What is this cheese madness? Story 52. Green peppers overpower the dish and ruin the other toppings. Story 53. Not being hot enough or using inferior cheese causes the cheese to solidify. Story 54. I am being attacked by my alcoholic stepfather. Not even kidding. Laughing out loud. Story 55. Honestly, it is so spicy that I cannot even taste it properly because I have to swallow it quickly. Story 56. Places that do too much. If it looks like an artisanal nightmare of twigs, dog milk cheese with a rotten squash puree, I do not know who that appeals to. They do it to burgers too. Story 57. Even bad pizza is still pretty good. So nothing will ruin a pizza for me. Story 58. When the cheese detaches from the rest of the slice. Story 59. When there is none left. Or, for those who know, Regina-style pizza. Story 60. I will eat pizzas with toppings I am not terribly fond of, but I refuse to eat plain cheese. Story 61. Too much sauce. Sauce too sweet. Undercooked dough. Pineapple. Story 62. When it's undercooked, a good pizza should have some browning and a bit of bite. Story 63. Too much grease, soggy dough, sauce that is too sweet or too little, and pineapple. Story 64. Besides joke responses like poop and other random things, my pick is hot honey. I generally dislike savory and sweet in the same bite, so I prefer pineapple on its own. Story 65. Cheap cheese forms a pool of oil that soaks the whole pizza. Believe it or not, good pizza should not be greasy. Story 66. I once had a pizza delivered and the delivery driver defecated on it. Only 3 slices were unaffected, and it had been good pizza, but I have no idea what happened to them after we complained. Story 67. Mushrooms that are not cooked before they are put on the pizza. Story 68. If it is too salty or burnt, those are my only 2 stipulations. Story 69. Electric pizza ovens, frozen pizza crust, and lousy cheese. My favorite place still uses an old 1970s gas-fired pizza oven, makes its own airy Neapolitan crust, and shreds blocks of fresh mozzarella cheese in a big hand crank grinder. Story 70. Even a small amount of black olives ruins the whole dish for me. Story 71. The pizza had a thick crust, was too oily because high-moisture cheese was used instead of low-moisture cheese, was not baked long enough, and had bland dough or sauce. I grew up spoiled on good New York City pizza. Story 72. Sliced ham under the cheese is gross and a good way to burn your chin. Story 73. Undercooked crust. I don't mean it's not charred. I mean the dough is raw. The cheese is fake, for lack of a better term. It results in a puddle of oil across the top of the pizza. Things were better when the mob told pizzerias in New York City where to buy their mozzarella. There was still bad pizza then, but the cheese was never that bad. Story 74. Places that don't put enough cheese on their pizza. Honorable mention to places that cook the pepperoni separately. Story 75. Olives or mushrooms. Also, if the cheese slides right off the moment you pick up a slice. Story 76. There is too much sauce. I know I am from New Jersey and I should love it, but I do not. It makes the pizza unnecessarily messy. Story 77. A sugary sauce. I forgot which it is, but one of the major United States pizza chains has it as its default. Pizza Hut, Papa John's, or Domino's. Story 78. Overcooked pepperoni. Any pizza with sweet or barbecue sauce. Cheddar cheese. Story 79. They send raw dough even though I asked for well done. It seems intentional. If it bothers them so much, they should remove the option from the app. Story 80. Anchovies. Eggplant. Undercooked. Overcooked. I'm on the fence about olives. It really depends on how many versus how easily I can pick them off. Story 81. Some artisan pizza places that have fetishized a single topping or type of cheese across the menu are worse than pizzas from corporate chains. But no one is allowed to say so until a food blogger finally dismisses them. Story 82. No flavor in the dough, poor tomato sauce, cheap cheese, and poor cooking. Pizza is fairly simple, but you can easily ruin it in many ways. Story 83. Pizza tastes like cardboard and must have laxatives in it, as I am sick for 2 to 3 days after eating it. Story 84. Go light on the sauce and the cheese. Both should be handled with care. Story 85. Choose sausage or pineapple. Then undercook it so it is just wet dough and sauce. Story 86. Chinese buffets. The only bad pizza I have ever had occurred twice. I will never try it again. Story 87. A wide crust, even on a nice Neapolitan base, skews the pizza toward bread. It often becomes too tall and burns, pushing the toppings into a soup in the center. I am here for the combination of base, cheese, and toppings, not bread. 1 centimeter of crust at the edge during preparation is adequate. Story 88. A big pile of random junk on top. Keep it simple, stupid. Story 89. I cannot eat a normal human amount of food because I have no self-control. Story 90. The pizza has too much cheese and too little sauce, causing the cheese to burn off in the oven. It should have less cheese and more sauce. Story 91. A giant air bubble can form in the middle, causing the toppings to slide off and leaving a burnt slice with nothing on it but air. Story 92. You order a pizza and get so excited you cannot stop smiling. You set the table and wait, but it never arrives. Even the soda you put out goes flat. Finally, there is a knock at the door. The delivery driver stands there holding an empty pizza box and says he could not find your house number. While looking, he got hungry and ate the pizza and still charged you for it. At least he said you did not have to tip him. Story 93. Anything that is too much. Crust, sauce, cheese, toppings. Keep it simple. Story 94. Soggy. Pineapple on pizza isn't actually the problem. The problem is wet pineapple making a puddle. Story 95. Pineapple. I hate canned pineapple on its own, but on pizza it just tastes like turds. I have also seen pineapple pizza in enough piles of puke on the sidewalk, and that is all I can think of when I see it. Story 96. Too much cheap or poor quality sauce. I don't need a mouthful of bland tomato paste with every bite. Cheese baked into the crust is far better than burnt tomato sauce. Story 97. Poor dough and crust. Everything else depends on them. Story 98. They did not cut it all the way through. My local Domino's cannot figure out how to cut a pizza so you can take a slice. Story 99. An underwhelming amount of cheese or cheese that is burned. Story 100. When the bun is soggy, wait, did we change from burgers to pizza? That's new. Story 101. Pineapple. Or when the cheese comes off and takes the other toppings with it, leaving only sauce and cooked bread. Story 102. Broccoli. There is a dark circle of hell set aside for whoever came up with that one. Story 103. If it is too doughy or undercooked, it tastes like slime to me. My ex loved undercooked pizza. Story 104. Avoid excessive cheese. It should not be a matted mess and must be balanced with other textures. Story 105. When it has really watery cheese and the toppings just slide off, it ruins my whole day. Story 106. Uninvited visitors. I swear that some neighbors are watching for the pizza delivery driver to show up. Story 107. That cornmeal grit they sometimes put under the crust is awful. Story 108. I'm all for simplicity. Too many toppings end up falling off and overpowering the cheese, sauce, and crust. Story 109. Avoid lukewarm, undercooked toppings of any kind. Pineapple is fine so long as it is baked down. Story 110. You got my order wrong while I was on my lunch break. I could not complain because you were on time. Story 111. 1. When the pizza is overly sweet. Toppings such as pineapple can make the sauce too sweet. 2. A bad crust. Undercooked or overly tough, as in Chicago-style pizza. 3. Pepperoni that is not crispy, which can occur with Chicago-style pizza. Story 112. Any vegan replacements? I tried to go vegan for a while. I got Blaze's Pizza vegan pie once. The consistency of that vegan cheese was like snot, and it tasted terrible. Story 113. Usually someone criticizes it, but that is not the case 100% of the time. Story 114. I love thin crust pizza and will eat it with almost any topping, including pineapple with ham, anchovies, capers, herbs, and leafy greens. If a topping combination works, I will try it even if it is not traditional. I prefer savory flavors, but a shredded roast chicken pizza with a sweet sticky barbecue sauce, straight out of the fridge the morning after a big night out, goes a long way toward curing a hangover. I absolutely abhor deep dish pizza, stuffed crust pizzas, and anything that can be folded. If a pizza leaves a large oil stain on the pizza box, I want nothing to do with it. As far as toppings go, less is more, especially when it comes to the cheese. Story 115. I am tasting the remnants of toppings I didn't order. Why does my pepperoni pizza have hints of pineapple on it? Story 116. Most pizza is good, but I really do not like a super sweet sauce. I like my sauce more on the zesty side. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.